It is another week here at Post Wrestling. I am John Pollock alongside Wai Ting here on Monday, February the 7th. Hello, Wai. How was your weekend?
Hey, John, my weekend was pretty good. How was yours?
It was great. It was great to come over to your house on the weekend. It was a long time since I've been over to your house.
You came over, dropped something off, didn't even say hi.
No, I had already left when I realized you were home, and thus I never saw you. But your house is still there, I can confirm. And there you go. That was our interaction on the weekend.
Well, better than nothing, I suppose. So thank you for making the trip over.
Oh yeah, it was a lot of fun. Well, today we had a homework assignment. We're going to go over a match that both of us watched over the weekend. Not too much crazy news to go through, but we will preview the week a little, including Tuesday night. It's a return of Rewind Away, as Wai and I are going back 31 years to WWF's greatest hits. This was a choice by our Espresso executive producer, Brent Nickel, as we are going to review a Coliseum home video release from the company that is available on the WWE Network. And this is just like a scattering of a handful of matches over a several-month period that have very little to do with one another. It's just a random assortment of matches. And we will chat about WWF circa 1990, early 91.
WWF Greatest Hits. Yeah, this is a video collection I've not personally heard of, but nonetheless, it is...
The greatest. Way of all the hits they had, these were the greatest ones that they had to offer.
Yeah, that is correct. You can actually see the out cover here. This was a selection by Brent Nickel, and it features really 60 minutes of action-packed 60 action-packed minutes, it says here, of November, like specifically from the period of November 1990.
That is misleading, okay? I have watched this. Not all 60 minutes are action-packed. They promote at the beginning of this 2 music videos, and we will have Wai determine if these qualify as music videos.
They promoted music video. Well, there was music and there was video, so...
Barely on both fronts, but we will talk about that. What an image that is there of... Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, the production of this entire thing, I think, leaves something to be desired, and I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about, not just with you and I, but with our executive producer, Brent Nickel, as well.
So that will be up Tuesday night for all members at postwrestlingcafe.com. So you will get that dropping into your cafe feed coming up this week. As well, some highlights. We will have Rewind to SmackDown on Friday night. Saturday, it's UFC 271. And the return of the British Wrestling Experience, Benno and Martin Bushby will be back on Thursday. So those are some of the highlights this week, as is every day, chatting with one Wai Ting here on the Post Daily News Update. And maybe an update before the end of today's show about what we have planned for tomorrow. But let's get into some of this news. Ring of Honor continues to roll out their list of inductees to their inaugural Hall of Fame class. On Monday, announcing that joining the Briscoe brothers will be Bryan Danielson. Mm-hmm. What a polarizing pick to put into the ROH Hall of Fame. People are going to be really divided down the middle on this one for Bryan Danielson. This is probably the easiest person to name for an ROH Hall of Fame. Maybe not the easiest. There's actually quite a lot of names you could probably list as worthy of such a distinction. But Bryan Danielson, so what they're doing is that they announced them on the Monday, and then that weekend's television is built around, archival matches of the person, and then they're also putting out like a YouTube feature the next week. So they're really just trying to come up with creative ways to utilize their library during this down period. And I think pointing people towards, hey, it's 60 minutes of Bryan Danielson footage this Saturday on ROH television. I would say that's just as appealing as any brand new ROH content, and probably more so for some that are not watching ROH week to week. So I said this last week, I think this is a very smart promotion for the company and making the best utilization out of your 20th anniversary this month when you're not running shows and you're not doing anything until April.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, listen, we're talking about it right now. We're talking about Ring of Honor keeping the name alive in a positive light, and it makes great use of, arguably, I think, maybe its greatest asset, and that is its extensive history and legacy of guys. So, a move like this, I think we would have expected, either a CM Punk or Samoa Joe or Bryan Danielson, maybe those, among those three most popular ROH names to leave that system to be included as part of this group. And, this tells us, it kind of confirms that at least, current AEW talent are eligible to be inducted into this thing and eligible to make appearances at the ceremony itself. But of the three, I don't think you could have really gone wrong. And Bryan Danielson looks to be the first.
Yeah, they're going to do like a Hall of Fame episode the first weekend of March. And like it sounds like it'll probably maybe be like video sent in from the different inductees. I don't think this is going to be something even the scale of like the Indie Wrestling Hall of Fame that we just saw. But more so, this is designed to be a television program in a month's time with the different inductees and what kind of promos you get from them. I wouldn't imagine too formal of a speech from the Briscoes.
Probably not. Although, do you think? I feel like this might be a bit of a suit and tie affair.
I could see them in suits on the chicken farm, accepting the award.
Okay.
Suits maybe
with
one
overalls?
of the chickens they attack the plaque, and they have to chase the chickens down or something like that. Maybe we could have some creative induction segments on this episode. But there you go, Bryan Danielson in the Indie ROH Hall of Fame. I'm sure he'll make his way into the Indie Hall of Fame at some point.
He's in the Observer Hall of Fame, correct?
Danielson, yes, he got.
I mean, he has an award named after him. I hope he's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, and then beyond that, like, have we seen Bryan Danielson do any sort of Hall of Fame induction speech yet?
Induction speech for himself? No, I guess not. No.
Acceptance speech, I should say.
Yeah.
So I mean, that in itself, I think, will be significant. Hearing a great public speaker in Bryan Danielson kind of reflect on his career, and I guess in this case specifically his ROH career. So that'll be fun. Who inducts? Who does the inductions? Are there inductors?
I don't know if they're going to be that formal. Like I don't know if these are going to be necessarily. I mean, they could.
It would be disappointing if there wasn't. I mean, that's half the fun of these Hall of Fame ceremonies is to hear somebody attached to this person's career talk about them.
I guess it's just how you present this whole thing. Like if you're limited to just bringing in like people giving speeches on their phones and sending them in. I mean, how it feels a little clunky. You know what I mean? Like here is CM Punk on his phone to induct Bryan Danielson, who's sending in his video. I mean, they could actually do it together since they're physical. I don't know. Yeah, you can get creative with this, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a little disappointing if it was just strictly videos and not that much kind of fanfare.
I mean, it's not going to be a ceremony. It's not going to be a ceremony with fans. Like this is going to air in a couple of weeks' time. Like they're not planning any kind of ceremony for this.
Yeah. Okay. Or at least maybe a collection of videos then from various people attached to the past. Like that to me is always, again, part of the appeal of it, and who might appear. If that was to happen.
Lance Storm is returning to Impact Wrestling. He announced on Figure 4 Daily, which is the show on the Observer site he co-hosts with Brian Alvarez, and will be continuing to do that show. He is returning to Impact as a producer/coach. He had worked with them for a very brief time in 2019, and then got the big offer from WWE to go there as a producer. And the timing of how it all worked out for Lance was interesting because once he made the decision to go to WWE, he shut down the school and goes to WWE, and then the pandemic hits. And, he was home for a while and then ended up being let go by the company. He was, kind of the last producer in. So when they're making those cuts and being in Canada, that had more restrictions on it for him. But I mean, for him, closing down that school before the pandemic hit might have been a silver lining. Like that would have been pretty tough to be running a school in Canada where you were reliant on a lot of international students coming in for that. But anyway, had been home during this time and going to Impact to work as a producer. So I think it's a very good pickup for Impact, and I guess he'll still be maintaining a public profile doing his weekly show.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of many, names that are free agents out there that are spoken of as highly of in terms of their training. I guess at this point, resume as somebody like a Lance Storm. So I'm honestly a little surprised that he was out there for as long as he was, and absolutely a great get for Impact Wrestling.
How much Impact are you following, if at all?
Really nothing at the moment. Maybe the pay-per-views whenever they come out, those to me act as like good jumping on points. Anytime maybe a big match gets spoken of, I at least try to keep up with some of the stories through the show reports and whatnot.
So Lance will be going on the road with them in a couple of weeks. They're doing that No Surrender Impact Plus special coming up on the same weekend as the WWE Saudi Arabia card. So the 18th or 19th and 20th, I think, something like that in New Orleans. So that's when he will be starting with Impact Wrestling. Tonight, Raw is going to be moving to Syfy in the U.S. Because of the Winter Olympics coverage. And they have promoted Seth Rollins taking on Riddle on the show. Riddle is going to be very busy because we have got the Quiz Bowl. And in the graphic, they are including Randy Orton. So presumably he will be back on the show tonight after last Monday's absence. And we will get the big payoff to this three series academic challenge with Alpha Academy to hopefully set up a tag title match. And then Lita will be on the show. So that is what we have for tonight's 3-hour show.
Yep, and of course, being on Syfy and being against the Olympics, we're probably not expecting. Well, what would be a good number?
I don't even know, because we at least have the comparison of when NXT had to go to Syfy last summer. Raw going to Syfy, like I imagine they're going to be down significantly. I wouldn't even know what to paint as like good or bad. I think these are irrelevant numbers for 2 weeks. That whatever they do, that's just the audience that they're going to do, and I expect a complete bounce back in 2 weeks' time when they're back. But it'll be this week and next week. And curiously, the NXT special will be on Syfy a week from Tuesday. On top of that, but we want to spend a bit of time on today's show to go back to the match everyone has been discussing, and that is the match from RevPro's high stakes event at York Hall in London last weekend, involving Will Ospreay and Michael Oku. And this is, I think, the perfect example way of a match that had so much strong word of mouth coming out of it, and was a major topic of discussion throughout the week as it made its way onto the RevPro streaming service, and to me has just been the most talked about match for a week now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We occasionally hear about things that come out of the UK these days, but I feel like it's been a while since we've heard this much buzz about one particular match from a promotion like RevPro that I think on shows like ours, we might spend some time to talk about, and it absolutely was worth the watch.
Yeah. So, I mean, the story going into this is that they had a match last October that ended with a minute to go of the time limit. So in this rematch for the British heavyweight title that Ospreay is defending, Oku is the British cruiserweight champion. There was no ability for the referee to stop the match. So that would play in heavily into this. And they had this tremendous pre-match video and just showcasing Oku being struck by the hidden blade in front of his mother. And for this rematch, we have the family ringside, including Oku's girlfriend, Amira Blair, who would have a very prominent role in this match. But first of all, just an incredible setting here at York Hall. And this felt like one of those big epics just to kind of set the table for the match, just based off the video and introductions alone.
Yeah, completely. I thought it was a very good set of videos in the package and told me everything I needed to know in the story. Both of them are long reigning champions. It's the cruiserweight champion versus the heavyweight champion. And, the entrances felt incredibly big. Tons of emotion on, in particular, Amira Blair's face. And, the entire story really being based around Ospreay intimidating his family and his loved ones, I thought, really came across in these first few minutes alone.
Yeah, this to me was, as a heel, one of the best performances I've seen from Will Ospreay. It just felt like such a complete performance in many ways. And early on, it's kind of just the idea of, can Oku even hang with this guy? And it's not until several minutes in when he is able to hit that first tornado DDT that opens up the possibility that this guy can come back against Ospreay, and you just have such a rabid fan base behind him. It was tremendous selling in the beginning portion. And then as they go to the floor, there was this counter into a Frankensteiner off the turnbuckle by Oku that looked terrific, and then gets sent into the timekeeper's desk right by the guardrail. And just the shots of Oku's family, who are just in such panic for Oku. Like, they look so concerned here, which is probably, you know, the guy's still crashing here through this table. I mean, it's not a big stretch on their part to have a look of concern on their face. But this is when Oku starts bleeding, and Ospreay is just destroying him in the corner with repeated cheeky Nando's kicks, and gets dropped to the floor as Oku's cornerman, Connor Mills, is checking on Oku. And this is when Ospreay is down. He gets into the face of Amira Blair and is slapped in the face, and he yanks her over the guardrail. And this is when Oku fires up, and this match goes to the next gear at this point. You have the bloody Oku, who is fighting on behalf of his girlfriend, and this place goes nuts as he fires back just with a rage towards Will Ospreay. And I think this is when it really went to the next gear.
Anytime you involved something with your loved ones in the ringside, it creates a tremendous recipe for a great fire up spot, and that's exactly what this was. It worked incredibly well. Again, Amira Blair to me is sort of like the, you know, best supporting actor of this entire production, and she added a whole lot just based off of her emotion at the beginning, and then a lot of her selling, you know, with Will Ospreay's taunting at the end here. It worked tremendously in this venue.
There were a pair of spots where Oku slipped on the top rope, so I don't know if Michael Nakazawa was in attendance at York Hall or not, but after this slip on the second one, he was still able to land this enziguri on the way down, and I was just impressed at this recovery and ability to hit this when it was, you know, a clear slip here.
Yeah, I mean, the blemishes only made this match, I think, feel more realistic. You know, the fact that he did wind up hitting it is great, of course, but even if he didn't, this was a man who was beaten half to death at this point. And him slipping on a rope, I think, would have only helped tell the story.
So Ospreay now is bleeding as we're getting deeper into the match. And earlier, Ospreay had wiped Oku's blood on his chest. So Oku does the same here. And he's going after the knee. And this is to set up the half crab. That is his big submission maneuver. And as they go to the edge of the apron, Will hits an Os cutter onto the edge that looked phenomenal. And Will uses the half crab that the crowd is vehemently booing. There's a Stormbreaker that gets countered into a tombstone. And as Oku hits the tombstone, realizes what he has done, and he makes a Rainmaker pose. And the crowd instantly gets into this. And as he goes for a Rainmaker, it is countered with a sit-out powerbomb and is hit with the first of many hidden blades for a 2 count that he kicks out of. And we see some tremendous moments down this closing stretch, including Oku trying to get out of, or it's Oku on top, and it ends up with a Styles Clash after these up kicks, and he applies the half crab, and he is just completely extending himself, bending all the way over with this half crab attached, and there's a Shining Wizard to the back of the head. Oku misses a frog splash and gets hit with numerous hidden blades, one after the other, and Ospreay will not pin him. He just keeps pulling him up. The crowd is just ballistic at this point, continues with more hidden blades. Connor Mills has the towel, and he is considering throwing it in. The girlfriend Amira Blair is encouraging him to throw it in, and Oku just pleads to Connor Mills to not throw the towel in, and it ends up with another hidden blade from this low angle on the floor that looked tremendous. And Amira Blair throws in the towel, but it can't be stopped. And Ospreay throws the towel at her, hits a Stormbreaker, and covers Oku while giving the middle finger. 41 minutes and 11 seconds. Will Ospreay wins. This match was all the praise and then some that it has received over this past week for me. I enjoyed this more than I did Ospreay and Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. To me, it's like when you look at January was an incredible month of matches. This weekend alone, this was the same weekend that we had that Julia Mayu Iwatani match, which I think would be a contender for match of the year. But to me, it's this and Okada and Shingo Takagi is kind of my 1-2 at the end of this. I just thought this was a brilliant match.
You know, my preference when it comes to professional wrestling these days is not just, I think, great bell-to-bell action, but that extra level of storytelling and emotion that I think so few matches can get into these days. So even for me, somebody who hasn't been following the storyline, being able to jump in and being completely sucked into it, I would rank this one my current match of the year so far. So much of the discussion and comparisons heading into this particular match I had heard was, you know, comparing it to maybe one of the most famous instances of a towel being thrown in, and that is Survivor Series with 1994, I believe, with
Yes.
Bret Hart, of course, versus Bob Backlund. One of my favorite matches because of the performance of Helen Hart and obviously Owen. But I mean, to me, Helen, stole the show there, just with the incredible emotion on her face as she was struggling whether or not to throw the towel in. And this match, I think, hit a very similar tone and told a very similar story, and I thought did just as effective of a job in creating a supervillain in Will Ospreay, who I think, you know, since his time away from New Japan Pro Wrestling due to the pandemic, I think has just become so much more comfortable and so much more confident and so much more evil as a heel. This was, to me, his best heel performance by far. I thought the heat was nuclear here. His intensity and his explosiveness, playing sort of like almost like an erratic psychopath, was really strong. I might contend to say that it might have been the most well-rounded performance I've seen from Will Ospreay in between, you know, of obviously his incredible in-ring action, but also his character work I thought was really strong here too. So he was absolutely fantastic. And again, I think best supporting actor needs to go to Amira Blair, who right after the match goes after Ospreay and slaps him and created another memory coming out of this match for all of us to remember. So like look at her giving the finger here. And by the way, thank you to British Wrestling Picks for
I was going to say these photos are tremendous.
Yep, they're courtesy of British Wrestling Picks. So I follow them at BritResPicks.
Yeah, and yeah, as Wai mentioned, she slaps him afterwards, and he puts the towel around his neck as Oku is carried to the back. I mean, obviously, this is a match you go to at some point when you're ready to down the road. But, you know, how Ospreay, what immediately got the buzz for this match was Ospreay tweeting about it afterwards, that it might have been the best match of his career. And just watching him after the match where he's seated down against the ropes with this smile on his face, and this crowd hates this man, I can very well see that he may have felt like this was just a perfect scenario. Mm-hmm. This is exactly where I want to be after this match, with the story that we had laid out, with the reaction we got. And like, you can quibble of like other matches that were more athletic, that were different positions, but for this story, for this execution, we nailed it. And I could certainly see just in that post match, it just felt like he realized, like, I don't think we could have done much better, which would always be interesting sometimes when you see a match like this, that the performers sometimes can be their own harshest critics of a match and pick it apart. But I completely was in agreement with you. So
and Michael Oku, we haven't spoken about yet, but as an underdog, I thought he came across so incredibly sympathetic. And, you know, the size differential alone is, I think, all you really needed. But I think his fire was incredibly strong. And, you know, in terms of obviously the in-ring action, it was absolutely tremendous. So 40-something minutes. How long was this match, John?
Just over 41 minutes.
41 minutes, and all of it was really quite spectacular. Never a slow moment, and really a high emotion coming out of it. So highly recommended this match.
Yeah, Michael Oku has received so much praise over the past year for his improvements, and it really just hit another level with this match. That is kind of that match that it's going to be for the foreseeable future, sort of this defining chapter in his career. So with that, we can note that tomorrow on the show, we are tentatively scheduled to be joined by Michael Oku, so we can speak to him about this match, the reaction to it, and get some of his thoughts on the match, because I think both of us were big fans of this match, so looking forward to speaking with him on Tuesday. Anything else before we wrap up, Mr. Ting?
Yeah, actually, we got one super chat here from Bobby the Sheep who sends SGD 20. I'm unfortunately I'm familiar with what SGD is. SGD is currency. Let me see. Singaporean dollars. 20 Singaporean dollars from Bobby the Sheep who says, I've been following you since the old channel. I love the accidentally awkward exchanges between John and Wai Ting, such as, John, how was your weekend? Wai Ting, it was good. John, okay? LOL. Keep going, guys. Love the show.
Accidental. What was accidental about this? Other
Thank
than
you. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's awkward. It's awkward. I mean, we don't mean to be awkward, of course, but if it comes across that way and you enjoy it,
not as
then
awkward as getting this
wonderful.
charge on your bill at the end of the month.
I suppose, sure. Yeah.
Very, very
$20.
generous of Bobby the Sheep.
20 Singaporean dollars. I think the first time we've had
We'll go
some
deeper. Wait,
Singaporean.
how was your weekend? Truly. Give me some highlights.
It was good. It was relaxing, and I'm trying to think what we
You know what I
did.
watched?
Watch
You know
some
what I watched
TV.
last night?
What's that?
The Usual Suspects. Have you seen that movie
I don't think so.
with Kevin Spacey as the Mystery of Kaiser Sose?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's a good movie. I watched it when I was a kid, when it like first came out. So I hadn't watched it since. It was on TV the other night, so I'd saved it.
I've been watching a lot of TV recently. I've been obsessed with this show called Dave. It's on FX. It's actually on Star in Canada, so you can watch it if you have a Disney Plus subscription. But it's like it's about this rapper, Little Dicky, and it's basically like a rap version of Curb Your Enthusiasm. You know, like a super awkward dude trying to just caring too much about every little thing. But it's just incredibly hilarious. I think the jokes are really funny, and it's got a lot of heart to it too. So I've been watching that. I've also been watching Warrior. It's a Cinemax movie, but it's also based off of a Bruce Lee concept that he created. And actually, his daughter is one of the producers, along with Justin Lin, of course, from Fast and Furious fame. And it's basically about, I want to say like early 1900s or maybe 1800s San Francisco and just Asian gangs that are there. And primarily, I mean, it's gotten pretty much a very, loaded Asian cast that you don't often see, but the storytelling is really good. The acting, I thought, is incredibly strong, and the martial arts is pretty damn good too. So I recommend Warrior on Cinemax.
All right. Well, there you go. A perfect recap of the weekend. But we have a week ahead. I'm looking forward to it. I'm all excited, ready to go. We will be live tonight at 11:15 p.m. Eastern Time for our double ice cap and espresso patrons who can join us to hear us in the moment return and review Raw from Denver, Colorado tonight, the Ball Arena.
Okay.
It's a pretty
Cool.
simple arena name, the Ball Arena.
Yeah, I imagine they play ball sports.
You know what? If
In
you
there?
go to Raw, if you're a fan in Denver and you go to Raw tonight, you know what you can come back and see on Wednesday night at the Ball Arena?
What?
Bad Bunny.
Oh, okay.
Bad
Convenient.
Bunny's performing there on Wednesday. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
Not interesting. But there you go. That is your trivia fact for the day. Thanks to everybody for joining us live. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, 1 Eastern on the Post Wrestling YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook platforms, and in your audio feed for you Cafe members out there. That is it. Your week can now begin, and we'll speak with you tonight.